Hey, what's up everybody? Tyler Barbas here from Funky Outer Space. Today, I'm going to share with you one of the first lessons that I give to new developers who are learning the React framework for the first time. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to create a new React project from scratch, how to clean it out and get it ready to start developing your app, and then finally, we're going to drop in an image of a light bulb and a button. And when I click the button, it should turn on and off the light bulb. All right, here we go. First, I'm going to open a terminal, go to my working directory, and if I type ls in the working directory, you can see that there's all these other projects in here. So I want to create a new React project, so I'm going to use npm create vite at latest. Vite is a boilerplate that's really good for getting your project started. Finally, you name it Lightbulb. You select your framework, which we want React. You select your language, which you want JavaScript. And voila, we have our new Lightbulb project here. When I cd into it in ls, you can see here are all the files that come with it. So the first thing I want to do is install the packages. You can do that with npm i. The package list is inside package.json, and once I run npm i, it downloads them from the internet. Now you can see I have this node modules directory here. That means that I have all of them installed. If you're ever wondering whether or not you have them installed, just run npm i again, and if they're already installed, it won't do anything. Alright, next I'm going to do npm run dev and get the server started. As I can see, it's now running at localhost 5173, and if I drop that in my browser, here we are. This is our new React project. It comes with a page that's already created by Vite. And so the first thing we're going to do is just clear all that out so that we can start making our own thing. So most people like to edit their code in an editor like Visual Studio. I like to use NeoVim inside my terminal. You can edit the files however you want. The first thing I'm going to do is just clear out all the CSS in app.css, and then I'm going to clear out all the HTML in app.js. Next, I'm going to go to index.css and just empty that one out as well. So now what we have left is this white page that says hello world, and that gives us a clean slate to get started. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the image of the light bulb. So I have these saved on my desktop, and the way you can use them in your project is just to copy them and then go to your project in your Finder and paste them into the public directory. So here now I'll have them available. So now I'm going to go back to my code in app.js, and let me just remove these imports at the top right fast and this unused state variable. And maybe I'll remove useState, but I think we'll use it later, so I'll leave that in. And what I'm going to do now is just drop in my image of the light bulb. As you recall, I saved them in the public directory. And if I cd there and show you, I can see the images there as 1 and 2. I actually want to rename the images. So let me just quickly do that now. I'm going to go into public, and you can do this in the Finder window and just rename it. I'm going to say light bulb off and light bulb on. I can just get rid of that old one. So anyways, I have these two images and they're in my public directory. If I ls, you can see light bulb off, light bulb on. And so in my code, I'm going to type in the file name here after a leading slash. And that will give me the image of my light bulb. There it is, yay! So it's a little bit big. Let's just give it a few styles. So I'm going to create a class called Lightbulb. I'm going to go into my CSS file and define that class and say I want this to be 500 pixels tall. And so now this light, instead of being huge, is only going to be 500 pixels tall, which is much more manageable. As you may recall, I have this hook at the top of the file called useState. And I can use that to define a state variable so that the app can remember whether or not the light is on or off. So I'm going to define a state variable here, and it's going to be called isLightOn. And when you define a state variable, you also define a setter. So the setter is going to be called setIsLightOn. And then I'm going to set that equal to my hook. And then in the parentheses here, you always put the default value, what the value is going to be when the page loads. So in this case, the light's going to be off. So it's going to be false when the page loads. And down below, I'm going to create a button that I can click and just call this light switch. All right, so here's my light switch. And what I want to do next is kind of just get it formatted and centered. So I'm going to wrap it in a div. Maybe I'll wrap the whole thing in a container div. And then that will allow me to center it. So let me just make this a container. And I'm going to go to my app.css and define container and just say text align center. And that's going to make sure that all the children are centered. So now I can have this in the middle of the page. Now, when I click my light switch, obviously it doesn't do anything because I haven't set it up to do anything. So I need to tell it what to do when the button is clicked. So I'm going to define this function called button clicked. And what this function is basically going to do, it's going to use the setter to change the value of isLightOn. And in JavaScript, as in many languages, if you use the exclamation point, that means it's going to reverse what is the current value. So if this is true, it will switch it to false. If it's false, it will switch it to true. So now we have this function called button clicked, and I'm going to say button on click and say button clicked. So this means that whenever someone clicks the button, it's going to fire that function button clicked, and that's going to call the setter, which reverses the value of isLightOn. Pretty cool, right? All right. So that is how the component is going to remember whether or not the light is on. But we still have not set up the image to change. And so when I click the button, the light isn't going to do anything. So I'm going to fix that. But first I want to show you something. So what I want to do first is just literally render this variable isLightOn into the page so that you can see it. And I'm going to have to convert it to a string here. And so you can see that when I click the button, it switches from true to false, true to false, true to false. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to use that true or false value to actually choose which light bulb image we're going to use. And this is called a ternary expression. So in here, you can see that I have a light bulb underscore off and a light bulb underscore on. And so really, we just need to render into that image tag this file name with the word off or on at the end, depending on the value of isLightOn. So what I'll do is I'll make this encased in curlies to make it variable. And then inside of that variable string, I'm going to inject a ternary expression. So this is starting with a conditional, which is going to be isLightOn, and it's followed by a question mark. And then the first thing that comes after the question mark will be the outcome if the conditional turns out to be true. The second one will be if the conditional turns out to be false. And so that's how we create the effect of the light bulb image turning on and off as we click the button. And that's really all there is to it. So now you know how to create a new React application from scratch. You know how to clean it out and get it ready to start. And finally, you know how to render an image and make that image respond to a click. Be sure to follow Funky Outer Space for more technical insights.